Domestic violence is a community issue. It can affect anyone, anywhere. It does not discriminate. The victims we serve at Women's Shelter are just like you and me. They are mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and friends. They are our loved ones. Those who experience domestic violence often live in silence, but they could be someone you know and care about, like your son or your daughter.
I was 14 when I met my boyfriend. He was sweet, charming, and kind. I remember I found out that I was pregnant. At this time, I was still attending high school. He told me that it was too dangerous for me to attend school and that I needed to leave. He needed to be with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was not allowed to do anything by myself. I remember one time I was on the bus with him. I turned to look out the window and he immediately accused me of looking at someone else. After we got off the bus, he pulled me by my hair the rest of the way home. Once we were inside, he pushed me against the wall and slapped me. The next day, he brought me flowers and apologized to me. He made promises to change, and I, because I loved him, believed him. I grew up in a household where there was abuse, so I thought all of this was normal. I had my daughter. He became even more aggressive. Slapping turned into punching, which then turned into choking. I was terrified, alone, and isolated with an infant. He was never going to change, and I knew that I could not raise my daughter this way. I was able to escape to a neighbor's house. The police were called, and he was arrested. I was reunited with my family. Women's Shelter provided me with the opportunity to receive the support I needed to break the cycle of violence. I am so thankful as it truly changed my life. I successfully completed college, and I am now a youth counselor advocate at Women's Shelter of Long Beach.
How many lives are affected by domestic violence? Statistics indicate that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience some form of intimate partner violence in their lifetime. Take a moment to look around. What do the numbers reveal? The numbers indicate many people are survivors of domestic violence, perhaps even someone sitting next to you.
If I had attended one of the Women's Shelter's Building Healthy Relationship programs when I was a teenager at Rogers or Wilson, my life could have gone very differently. I would have learned about the red flags of violent behavior and that the excessive jealousy demonstrated by my boyfriend didn't mean that he loved me, but that he wanted to control me. Instead, I married my possessive boyfriend when I was 18 because he convinced me that no one else would ever want me. After marriage, the emotional, verbal, and physical abuse escalated. Oh, and did I mention that he was 6'3" and a karate black belt? When I was 23, I realized it was now or never if I was going to escape the relationship, despite his threats that he would kill himself and me. I moved in with my mom in Belmont Shore. He knew where she lived, and he showed up one day on the doorstep with a shotgun and forced his way in. That was 1978. Just when the Women's Shelter was getting started. If I had known about them, I could have gone to their safe house instead of putting my mother and myself in jeopardy. I could have used the Women's Shelter's outreach counseling in the following months and years. However, the story has a happy ending. I met and married my wonderful and supportive husband, Joe Vanderhorst, and pretty much have lived a charmed life ever since.
It truly does take each one of us to make a difference. As Chief Luna says, if you see something, say something. Being an advocate for change is as simple as speaking up and standing up for someone whose voice has been taken away as a result of domestic violence. Help give a voice to those whose lives have been touched by domestic violence. Your support helps victims and vulnerable children whose stories are just like the ones that were so bravely shared in this video. It helps them to access the supportive emergency housing, counseling, education, support group, and crisis intervention they need to stop the cycle of violence. You can make a difference. Lead with love today.